Hey guys, welcome to a very special Zoom video episode of BCC The Other Side. It's the parallel dimension to the Bigfoot Collectors Club. I am your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your alternate host,
Bryce Johnson.
and our ultra-terrestrial producer,
Riley Bray.
Guys, obviously we have some amazing guests tonight. We're going to get right to it. This is the wrap up, our finale of our coverage of Expedition Bigfoot, which we've been recapping all season long. Bryce, welcome our special guest to The Other Side for the first time, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you can see, if you're following on, we have the incredible team of Expedition Bigfoot. We have Dr. Mireya Mayor, Ronny Blanc, and Russell Acord joining with us on this very special Bigfoot Collectors Club Patreon Zoom edition. So we're so thankful that you guys are all here and joining us. Our Patreons have been avidly watching the show and enjoying our recap series, and it's great to have you guys here. Welcome.
Thanks for
having us.
I mean, as I play with my mic unprofessionally, but look, I just want to say, first of all, how am I doing, Riley?
Great, you're killing
Great.
it.
I just want to say right off the bat, congratulations on like such an entertaining season, and I feel like evidence-filled season of the show. I know you guys are out there camping the whole time and trekking through miles and miles of woods, and at times, you know, putting your lives at stake. But did you guys have as much fun making the show as I feel like we and our audience had watching it?
Ronny and I did.
Yeah, we had a blast. We laughed a lot.
Absolutely.
We have a good time out there. I mean, and that's one of the things that's true of any expedition. Like, it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of challenges, and you're covered in ticks, and it's hot, and then it's cold, and then you're rained on. And if you weren't with people that you're having fun with, it would just suck. It would be so miserable. So I feel like super lucky that we've got this team that actually likes each other, you know, and has, for the most part, right?
Yeah. No, listen, you guys make up one of my I've got more than one, but Bigfoot text groups. We are constantly staying in communication, and you know, love keeping in touch with each other, and we all really enjoy each other's company too. So it's a real pleasure working with these guys.
I felt like you were going to get choked up there for a minute, Bryce.
Not here. Not here. I'm not crying. He's crying.
How about you, Russell? I mean, you're more out on your own and stuff. I mean, do you have a good time when you're sort of trekking out there? I mean, you got cameraman Zach, who we just had on the show recently, but do you guys have a pretty good time when the cameras are not rolling?
Yeah, we do. It's nice to be away from base camp where we don't have to deal with Team Diva. But for the most part, when it's just
that was one time, Russ. Once.
I was doing so good keeping a straight face. No, Zach is great. I've never, you know, when you pair up a couple people, like Mireya and Ronny get along so well together, and that's just a really great dynamic, and it shows on the show. Zach and I have that same thing. When I trust him, and it's nice to know that no matter where you're at, what you're doing, he's very watchful. He's definitely doing his best. Just getting that shot and running through that terrain is awesome. And both of us having a military background and just very cohesive. I love that guy. Absolutely love him.
We were joking last week with Zach that like next season you guys are going to have a cameraman for Zach so we can get some of his reactions to all the wild stuff you do on the show, so we can get his scared reactions and concerns.
I'll start
for you.
carrying the camera. Give us both the camera.
Yeah, just point them at each other. Yeah.
Talk about, we're going to get into listener questions, but I mean, man, that last episode where you guys found those footprints down by the creek bed, and Russell, you went over the trellis of the train.
There it is. Amazing.
Talk about that moment, and talk for all three of you finding those tracks. That was just, I thought, one of the best moments I've ever seen on any one of, you know, any Bigfoot hunting show of all time.
Agreed. Totally.
I have to tell you, from my standpoint, I'm the, I have that whole skeptic attitude. I'll look at something and think, finding that out in that area where we were, which is not inhabited by people, it would be very, very, I'd probably have a better luck winning the lottery than have somebody go all the way out there in hopes that somebody would go by and see a track. So finding that thing out there in that location was just, it was adrenaline. It was very exciting. And the first thing I'm thinking is, boy, I can't wait to get the whole team here. These guys got to see this.
Russ, would you consider that the gold standard of all the evidence that you've acquired? I mean, in your decades of doing this, other than that great thermal video, but I mean, this is tangible. You can hold it in your hands. Is this one of the best pieces of evidence you've ever gotten?
I've gotten tracks before, but they've always been a place where that there's hikers within a few miles of where you're at. So it's always in the back of your mind. Okay, is that plausible that somebody could have known that we're out here? And yeah, it is. Out there where we were, highly unlikely. I mean, really highly unlikely. And yeah, for me, that was a great find. And having Dr. Jeff Meldrum have a look at it, and the conversation he had with Dr. Mireya was just, that was what I needed.
Yeah.
Dr. Mireya.
Tell us about that, Mireya. Did that satisfy your scientific curiosity about those track casts? I mean, when you spoke with Jeff, what was that like? Walk us through that a little bit.
Satisfy my scientific curiosity. Put it this way.
Yeah.
It was definitely when Russ called Ronny and I out there to go take a look at this stuff. I wasn't expecting very much. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought, okay, we've seen prints. We found other prints. These were pretty spectacular in that there was more than one, because generally we've only found that lone foot, and I'm always looking like, where's the other foot? Like, there's got to be, if it's a biped, where's the other foot? So this was really cool because there was so much more information that that we could see, like the stride distance, and the stride distance was impressive, right? When I spoke to Dr. Meldrum and he started showing me the different comparisons and the fact that he has been studying this for so many decades, the fact that he was so confident that this was a legit track, and then added to that he thought that he was seeing these dermal ridges. I mean, that's where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah. Did you hear that news story about them finding Neanderthal tracks in Spain, I believe, a new set of family trackways fossilized? That's pretty interesting. Are you going to want to look into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that we kept saying throughout the expedition. Like, every time you find a lone track, it doesn't give you much information. But when you find a set of family tracks, now you're looking at different sizes, you're learning about how many individuals in a group, you're looking at stride. I mean, there's so much more you can get out of a set of tracks. So this was a really cool find.
Yeah.
And couple that with the eDNA results from the tree structure in Kentucky. I mean, congrats. I mean, that's must be huge for you. I mean, all three of you guys, but I mean, Ronny, you must just be in the back of your mind going, I told you with some of this stuff.
It is like really satisfying when you're surprised. I was so shocked to hear about the results. And at the same time, it was just amazing that they were pulled from the tree structure out of the three different locations that we had, Dr. Mireya had pulled eDNA. So that the fact that it was from that tree structure was even more, I think, rewarding, because no one's, like Russ has said, no one's really ever seen a Bigfoot putting one of these together. However, they're found throughout all these different hot spots, and they seem to be connected somehow to Sasquatch, whether it's directional little nursery, huts, whatever they may be. But so that was really exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe a Pizza Hut, you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mireya, could you talk a little bit about like what that piece of evidence means in the context of sort of like the larger puzzle of all the pieces of evidence coming together towards some sort of conclusion as to the existence of this creature?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start by saying that I don't call it evidence. So it's
Okay.
a really interesting
Data.
finding.
Okay.
It's a remarkable finding, right? Because we don't know of any non-human primates in North America, and so the fact that the lab was able to trace not just in the hundreds, right, but in the thousands, this chimpanzee DNA from the sample. I mean, we were shocked. We were really left like scratching our heads, like how is that possible? So it's a very surprising and I think important find, and one that's going to require a lot more investigation. But what I love about that find is that it is tied to something else. And the difficulty for me is unless I see something building that structure, I don't know what built it, right?
Right.
And same thing with the prints and all of these other things. But when you start looking at multiple layers of finds, almost like pieces of a puzzle, when you're trying to put it all together, it is remarkable that finding was found under that tree structure.
Context. Yeah. The context is everything.
I have a follow-up question. Mireya, does your like skepticism like grow the further you get away from the show? Because like when you're in it, I feel like when you're in the show, you're like, and you're
at the beach today. I was like, Bigfoot.
Right, totally. I mean, because we're watching you in the show, and it's like all these things are happening, and it's just like we can register it in your eyes that like something's taking place, and it's so easy to be in it when you're in the field. But then when you step away, you get a little bit of perspective. Do you find that happening to you?
I mean, first of all, I have pretty large eyes and they're very expressive. And I find that lighting, at night, it is not only not flattering, but it sort of exacerbates, right? Like,
she's shocked all the time.
I'm just shocked all the time. Yeah, Ronnie's off in the distance doing something silly. That's what you're expecting there. But to answer your question, there's been so many times during this expedition where I have been shocked. Like there's no denying. I'm just like, I'm looking at something like the day that I radioed Ronny, and I'm like, there's something on the thermal and there's these 3 almost light looking things hanging over it. And what is going on? And I'm like, what is happening right now? I kept looking for technical glitches on the thermal. I mean, something wasn't adding up. And there's a lot of those moments. It's not that I step away and become more skeptical. The truth is, and you guys know this, I mean, I'm really very, very open-minded about all this stuff. And I don't dismiss stuff, just because like, oh, that just can't be.
Right.
But for me, like, it's gotta be irrefutable for it to really count. That doesn't mean that these finds aren't interesting and surprising and very relevant, because at the end of the day, Bryce, you're going out, you're interviewing all these eyewitnesses. We're all getting letters now from people sharing their stories with us. And so much of what we see and find out there matches up, with what they're reporting, what they're seeing, what they're experiencing.
Right.
I feel like even though I can't use that as any sort of evidence, it must mean something, because, and that's the thing, when I'm out there and I'm experiencing this stuff and I'm looking at this stuff, mind blown. I mean, what is that?
Yeah.
And I constantly feel like that's in the back of my mind, like, what the hell is that?
What is it? Where are you guys, all 3 of you and Bryce, where are your heads at now that we know what you guys have discovered? Russell, let's start with you. Like, where's your head at with like, okay, this is what I think we were tracking, or if it is Bigfoot, this is what I think about Bigfoot. I mean, what conclusions can you come to, I guess, at this point, even if you have to use your imagination?
For me, it felt like a chase. I was following something. There was no question in my mind that there was something that was leading me a certain direction. There was a lot of sounds. There was a lot of just even tracks and pushed brush. And I mean, I'm pretty dang good in the woods when it comes to tracking. And whatever I was tracking was leading me a certain direction. Finding those tracks was a strike of lightning out of the middle of nowhere. It was awesome to find that. As far as, so we found hair, we had heard audio, we saw a lot of stuff in thermal. And just, I want to touch on this before we get off track. A lot of people question that on our fan page. Well, what happened to the hair samples? What happened to this sample, that sample? And I think for the most part, if it's something that wasn't tangible or didn't have a pretty good discovery behind it, it didn't get aired on the show. It doesn't mean that it wasn't important. It all those pieces led us to where we got to that final track, that final piece of the puzzle that ended our expedition, where we came out not empty-handed, which was really great. But the stuff that didn't come back on the show and get noted was because it wasn't strong enough evidence to make a scene over it. But it's all good evidence. It's all good pieces. I think in my mind, if I ever get a chance to get back into that same area, I want to pick up where I left off. I think that my skepticism is strong as usual, but it's also, I'm excited. That track, the whatever was leading me in that direction, whatever bluff charged me at night, I'm not done yet. I'm nowhere near done with whatever it was out there. I won't have a closer until I know what the hell that was. So
all I see is Russell like
face
putting
is
on
still-
like the war paint
Yeah.
and the bandana. Going back.
Actually, what's interesting about what Russ just said is that I had a very similar experience out there. And you know, Ronnie we were on a creek bed, like a dried up creek bed. And Ronnie was off to one side. I think he was picking berries. Weren't you picking berries?
Yeah. Blackberries.
Blackberries, right? And then our cameraman, Ronnie, was off to the other side, getting, batteries, doing something. And I was just standing there, and I'll never forget, all of a sudden I got this waft of actually like this beautiful scent. I mean, it was like this real peaceful, you could almost call it magical moment. And seconds later, I was charged by something, and I saw the brush moving, and it was large, and it gave me that same sensation when I've been out in Africa and I've been charged by a gorilla. I mean, it felt big, and it was rushing towards me, and I could see the brush move, and there was nothing there. And I called out for Ronnie to see if he'd gone around, and it was just him kind of making noise. He was still off in the distance picking berries, and I called out for the other Ronnie, and he's like, yeah, what's up? And he was just way off in that distance. And so I was just standing, we went over to that area, and we couldn't see anything. In fact, the brush was a lot taller than you were led to believe from where we were standing. But it was weird, because then days later, when Russ was talking to us about what he experienced, I mean, because none of this made it on the show because there were no cameras rolling, right? But then he had a, same kind of thing where he felt something charging at him.
Wild.
Did you bark at it?
I didn't.
And
Missed opportunity.
I was like, I probably cursed, like, what the fuck was that? But no,
what's it?
Russell, by the way, I'm not making fun of you, man. That was the coolest thing I've ever
yes,
seen.
you are.
I would have
That was
absolutely,
badass.
I would have pissed my pants and run screaming. The fact you stood up to that thing was one of the most badass things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Totally.
Truly.
Well, hold on a second. What makes you think I didn't piss my pants?
Well, fair enough.
Are you wearing pants now? Did you get the memo?
You know,
Letting them dry.
yeah, he brought the pee-stained pants for us to examine. Thank you.
Oh my God. How about you, Ronnie? What has changed for you in this Bigfoot phenomenon?
Well, one thing I just wanted to mention was interesting is that Russ and Mireya both had something that they couldn't see because Mireya's thing happened during the day, charge at her, and Russ as well. And it was exactly that same kind of scenario that for me when I was young, but something moving in front of me, not charging at me, but the same thing that you couldn't see it. And it was something big. And you get the sense that there was something there you couldn't see. So I thought that was really cool that the three of us had that kind of experience in that commonality. The strange keeps on getting stranger, right? So like the greatest thing was when Mireya had called and described what she was seeing in the thermal across the river. And I instantly asked her, I said, please tell me you're recording, because there was just a sense in my mind that there was going to be some issue with that camera. And sure enough, the thing didn't record. Like we had to have the cameraman start filming the screen so we can capture it. And to me, with those lights, whatever you want, the orbs over the thing, the fact that she flashed the light on it wasn't there, was just one of those moments that I was like, this is what I'm talking about, that craziness. Like, what is going on? How is this happening? Because it doesn't make any sense.
What I love about it is like when we're watching you go through that, it's like Mireya and Russell are in unfamiliar territory, but you're in your comfort zone. You're like, orbs above the head. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Check the
out.
camera. Is it malfunctioning?
Yawn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Check.
Ronnie, last week, cameraman Zach said that he feels like you're a magnet for this stuff. Do you feel that way? Do the rest of you guys agree with that sentiment? That like
Yes.
he thinks some of this stuff's
Yeah.
happening because you are in the woods.
Ronnie definitely brought the weird with him.
Yeah. Well, all you got to do is read his book, Monsterland, and you'll see why. I mean, this is, Ronnie's no stranger to this stuff. He's been part of these types of experiences.
Before Ronnie came on, I wasn't seeing lights or getting charged or hearing people. None of this was happening.
Yeah. Well, God, thank God for that. Makes for some great television.
In
And you know what?
No doubt.
In
And
fact, that was one of our bonding moments because Ronnie had just come on, and when RPG had to leave, and we started talking about that one moment when you were off to the side, and I told you about what I saw over the mountain, some weird light, and that's how we started connecting. But it was like the strangeness started night one with Ronnie's.
That was wild.
Yeah. Well, for me, I've always felt that look, I've talked to some very sober and reliable individuals who've had some experiences. Yeah, me too. Who when they tell you about some of the experiences that they underwent when they had a Bigfoot encounter, it puts something in this box that doesn't really fit into the normal paradigm of what we would consider maybe like an unconfirmed North American wood ape. So I still have a lot of questions about some of these stranger experiences that people have been reporting for not just decades, but for hundreds of years, and our team as well. So there's a mystery at play here, and I love that we're looking at everything to try and get to the bottom of it. And I feel like, God, I feel like we're moving the ball forward. I hate sports analogies, but I feel like we're getting closer to either,
I agree,
answering some questions or bringing some new questions that are accepted into this field. But I don't know. I think it remains mysterious, as it has always been for me.
Well, I'll say this, based on some of the questions we have too, like you guys, I think did a great job of, if not reigniting, like keeping people interested in this subject. You know what I mean? Like it was like getting like a Bigfoot refresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was like, man, I am as excited about it as I've ever been, especially after watching this show. You know what I mean? It's like, I think you guys.
I've seen a lot of people writing as well on Twitter that they didn't believe before the show, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Bigfoot 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of our listeners, let's get to some questions because we have a handful here. I want to try to get to as many as possible.
Do it.
First question. This is from Jason. This is for everybody. What has been your biggest frustration or regret while filming?
Everyone's so
Russell?
polite. No one's gonna go first.
I'll say it that I didn't run fast enough up that friggin' hill.
My biggest regret was not punching you that night.
Oh my
Oh
god.
man.
What about you, Russell?
I realistically, it's not about regrets for me. I don't think there's really any regrets. It's just the biggest regret is when we get chased out of an area when we're in the middle of the hottest spot because of a forest fire.
Yeah.
We always seem to be getting really close and something drags us out, or for some reason, something pushes us away. So not having enough time this last season too, that's my regret.
Mm. That was rough
I'm not
to watch
done
you
yet.
guys have to walk out of that in that moment. It's heartbreaking.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
All of you guys looked so heartbroken. I mean, like, and Bryce, all of you guys were just like, I can't believe I have to tell you this.
Yeah.
We all
coming
blame
off that
Bryce,
high,
too.
Yeah.
It is Bryce's fault. He was the one tossing cigarettes out of the cabin. You didn't.
Bryce. Yeah, I would kind of go with Russell. For me, I don't think there is any regrets. I'm so proud of the season that, listen, we came into this year going, oh my God, the obstacles in front of us were almost seemed insurmountable. And
Right.
and we pushed through them, and we fought through COVID. We fought through, quarantining and protocols and all types of difficult challenges to overcome. And we did that. And so for me, I have no regrets. I was just so excited that we were able to get what we got on the television screen, because
It
there were
reminds me of that
moments.
tattoo remember the tattoo that says no regrets?
No regrets.
regrets.
So I was thinking about the exact same thing, Russell. I was
No
just like, no
regrets.
regrets. No regrets.
Oh yeah, no regrets. No regrets here.
Dr. Mireya, any regrets on your
Any
end?
regrets?
No regrets. I mean,
Nice.
I wish we'd had more time. I wish we could have stayed.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's really a regret, but it's regrettable
A
that we couldn't,
frustration.
right? Yeah, I suppose it is. But I want to get back to Ronnie's comment about running up that hill. No, because there's something I want to explain. Like, I totally get the excitement in that moment of wanting to just see, like what was making those sounds.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, because of the fact that whatever it is, whatever it could be, what you don't want is to either chase something away, because we have so many sightings, right? We have so many people coming forward and say, I've seen it, but that still hasn't proved anything. That hasn't proved
Right.
its existence, because it's just so, like, maybe that's a regret that I was a little bit of, might have been a little bitchy about it, during.
He could have been eaten by a mountain lion. Come on,
Yeah.
But he
he's trying to
could've
save this
also-
man's life.
He could.
Well,
My
my
listen.
reasoning.
Thank
my
you.
reasoning
You're
was
my
that-
favorite, Michael.
Fair enough. Thanks. Yes.
My reasoning
Nice.
was that I felt like if there was another animal there, it would have kind of like moved away, and I felt like the only other thing that would be, because I felt like it was in that situation again, like I was back in Ohio, where we're kind of being surrounded, and it was that same feeling again. And so it was just like this feeling like there's a friggin' Bigfoot on the other side of this thing, and I'm going up right now. And it was just like, boom, go.
And-
Like I didn't even think
And that's the
twice.
thing, like, that, like, you're from that world, right? And I'm coming at it from the primate behavior world. And like, when we've been habituating, for example, the Western lowland gorillas, if we push too hard, if we try to stay on their trail, they will run away. Like that is, scary to them, threatening to them. They don't want to be around. They will split. And until you habituate them, you have to know where that boundary is, so you don't
Right.
push them away. And so I think that's where our different worlds kind of came to that head, right? Because your
Yeah,
instinct
yeah.
was to go forward, and my instinct is, you don't want to push whatever is there, you don't want to push that away.
Right.
Ronnie, maybe next time you just go, it's chill. It's chill.
Yeah.
And then,
Hey,
hello.
Cassie asks, what other creatures other than Bigfoot, Yeti, skunk ape, etc., and I would even say this can go into other territories if you wanted to that aren't, hairy hominids, are you willing to go on another expedition for? Love the team and hope we get a season 3.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Definitely skunk ape, definitely Yeti.
Yeah.
I'm still fascinated. I don't know how the rest of the team feels about it because we haven't really discussed it, but I'm still fascinated by the Mothman.
Yeah.
For some reason, that just has my attention. It intrigues me.
I would have to agree with
Great.
you, and I'd like to, if outside of doing an expedition for Bigfoot, yes, going to the Midwest and sort of researching some of the sightings that people are seeing there would be pretty interesting.
It'd be very cool.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Agreed.
What do you think, Mireya? Moth with wings with huge quads.
Sounds like a boy.
Ronnie, what other cryptids you want to get a hold of?
Man, I've always been fascinated by the stories of Thunderbirds and just these kind of like these big cats that have been seen as well in areas that they shouldn't be, and they seem to. There's been reports of them being with Bigfoot, so I've always found that fascinating. And what the heck, are those? Big black cats and things like that. So these weird, odd reports that seem to keep on popping up in certain areas that have me fascinated too.
I am so lost right now. I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay.
Wait. Bigfoot has like a cat?
Yeah, he's like He-Man.
Like
He has
He-Man.
like battle cats.
Yeah,
time
battle
hanging out with
cat.
him.
Yeah.
I thought Bigfoot would be more of a dog man, kind of a or a
You
bear.
would think.
Seriously?
Children's book. Dog man.
We're gonna broach that next season. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Dog man.
we'll ease into it.
Is it a downward dog man?
Yeah,
Downward
he's really
dog.
into yoga.
Namaste.
Dr. Mireya, you
Yeti
mentioned
yoga.
wanting to go to like
That's
what was it, the Louisiana, which border was it that was swampy that you mentioned in this latest episode?
I can't remember.
Texarkana.
Texarkana. There might be some skunk apes there. Maybe you'll finally believe in skunk ape.
We'll see.
Bryce, to you.
Crickets.
Nishi asks, have any of you experienced mind speak out in the field, quote unquote, like Les Stroud, Survivor Man, mentions that he experienced?
Yeah.
Mind
That's
speak.
That's something I would love to. I've gotten like the vibes, the feeling, but I've never really had something where you hear a voice like so clearly. I did have something like that when I was younger, but it was almost like a in my room kind of thing, hearing my name, but nothing like out in the woods where some people have described actually getting communicated like stay away or we're going to harm you, or these different like direct messages. I think would be pretty incredible to experience that.
Yeah, that's a fascinating thing that Les Stroud talks about. I've followed his journey, like coming to terms with that, because he's a pretty reliable outdoorsman, and he did not want to have to confront the fact that he was experiencing some of these stranger aspects of Bigfootery. I mean, he did his show. Bless you, Surviving Bigfoot, and he wanted to keep it, like you, Mireya, very real, very scientific, no bullshit. But as he spoke with Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles, one day when he was, exploring the woods, he was confronted with what he could only call like something was like talking inside of his head. So
What did he say?
super strange.
Wow.
He said he basically was like, so it was like, if you're ready to meet us tonight, come back.
Yeah,
to
we're
this
over
spot.
here. Yeah.
And he
He got
Les
invited
was-
to a party.
yes,
Like a
yes, he got
party?
invited to a
Wow.
Sasquatch party, and Les was
Yeah.
like, I am not ready for that shit. And that's one
Wow.
regret he said he had, but pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So he's got some of his own theories as to what's taking place. Perhaps some type of ESP or telepathy happening. Maybe they've
Mhm.
developed some sort of skills being, part of nature for so long. Who knows? Interesting stuff though. He's not one to bullshit.
Do a lot of people
No.
report that?
Yeah, the ones that are the real ones that are actually having, like, they're gifting, they're habituating, they're having these type of experiences. They're also having shadow people in their houses and other things that would be deemed paranormal. So there's that wonder, are these things more spirit in nature than they are, something else? So a lot of people start to experience that stuff and they think they're going crazy.
You remember last season when I spoke with the young gentleman who filmed the Marble Mountain video? It was his father and
Yes.
a troop of Boy Scouts. Off camera, I asked about strange, if anything strange I'm missing from the story, and he said, when his father was looking through that video camcorder, he felt like he was getting some type of speaking message in his mind. Get out of my
Wow.
camp, get out of my camp, get out of my camp. And he never really
Wow.
mentioned it until much later to his son. But, and I was like, that's pretty interesting.
I do think, like, we as humans have had these skills inherent in us early on. And I do feel like we kind of lost that with all these different distractions. So I think maybe they have this kind of ability to tap in that kind of stuff. And it's kind of mind blowing, quantum physics and that kind of thing. But
Yeah, I agree.
Russell's gonna stay quiet on this one.
Well, I have a lot of respect for Les Stroud. Definitely has his act together for sure. I've never had anything actually speak to me, but maybe for me, it's more of that instinctive knowing that you're putting yourself in a spot, the hair goes up on your arms and you feel, but never any language or words or verbalizing anything. But that gut, definitely have had that gut feeling that says you're getting ready to step into a bear trap, you better back away.
Yeah. You did it a couple times on the show, especially hunting down that track after rappelling down the trestle. You had, look at the hair on my arms.
Right.
It was just
Right.
such a great moment. You brought us right into what you were experiencing. Love that.
Little chicken skin.
This is a question from Austin. He has two questions. The first one, Dr. Mayor, what, if any, has been the reaction in academic circles to your participation in this expedition? Are there any closeted Bigfoot curious anthropologists out there impressed by or skeptical of the team's what he calls evidence and what you call findings?
No,
I'm learning.
you're listening, Michael. So it's been a mixed bag of reactions, I have to say. I have had some critique from the science community as to my involvement. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you running around the forest looking for something we already know doesn't exist? This is a waste of time. And then I've had quite a number, which is what's interesting about this question, quite a number of scientists who I've known for many years reach out to me privately to say, I am so glad that you're involved in this research because I have so long wondered and believed that this could be out there, but they wouldn't want to put that out there publicly, right? So if I put something out on Facebook, for example, talking about the show, rather than just comment, right, they'll send me a direct message. And quite a number of scientists have said, I think it could be out there, and kudos to you for being brave enough to, sort of go out there and look for it. That question has come up many times, like, why are you involved in this? I get asked that all the time. And the truth is, and it's what I always say, and it's what I really feel, is I got involved in science because I love exploration, because I wanted to advance, scientific knowledge, and I wanted to answer questions that remained a mystery. And to me, nothing really represents that more, right, than this legend that has just gone on and on for how many centuries. And So I think that exploration on its own is very worthwhile. And the fact is even if we don't find what we're looking for, we could discover something else just by sheer nature of being out there. It happens.
Right.
So I love exploration. I think the question of not having the evidence doesn't prove a lack of existence. So I like to be out there searching for what could lead to that discovery.
Sense to
Amen.
me.
Well put.
By the way, Riley, I think Grace was in the background during that. She's
I
moved,
saw
and
that.
it completely frightened me.
I know. I was like, oh, everyone's gonna think. I was gonna not acknowledge it and let people just think there's a shadow person behind me in my house.
Bigfoot's in your house.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
See?
Second question from Austin. This is to all of you. Assuming Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature, jury's still out, obviously. What do you all see as some of the broader social, political, and scientific implications of discovering a highly intelligent and presumptively endangered species? Thank you, everyone. Keep up the great work.
You know,
I mean,
that's
that's a
yeah, go ahead,
paradigm
Ronnie.
shift, right?
I
mean,
think so.
That's a big paradigm shift. Like people would just, the fact that all those stories now have been confirmed, you know, that would really change a lot of people's worldview.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I think it would be pretty groundbreaking, and I think it would shake a lot of people's foundations of what they think are the possibilities of discovering new species in the world today. But hey, we're doing it all the time. At the end of last year in December, a team off the Mexico coast discovered what they think could be a new species of whale. So you know, they're discovering new species all the time, and not just small creatures, small mammals and insects, but large ones as well. So there is still a lot of this planet left to explore, man.
Yeah, and this work I really think helps to get people interested in environmental protection and like actually taking care of these habitats. And so, I mean, if you actually found and could prove there are Bigfoot living in this forest, that forest, I would hope, is even more protected than, you know, we need to be looking at them now, because it's so vital.
And if at the end of the day, that's all we get out of it is bringing attention to the environmental crises that's undergoing, then hey, God, we did our job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I mean, even ending with that fire, it just brings even more light to like, and it's good that you guys acknowledge it on the show too. It's just like unprecedented wildfires and like just how important it is that we're looking at these things right now, because there's so many species that face extinction, and when they're gone, they're gone. So
I mean, I can say this: when we discovered the mouse lemur in Madagascar, I went to the prime minister and the government in Madagascar, and they were so excited by this find, and it really gave the country a lot of sort of hope, right? And they agreed to turn that area into a national park. So all of a sudden, the world's smallest primate became a huge ambassador for all of the wild and living things in that forest. So there are definite positives that could come out of discovering a new species to enact really strict and stronger policies for protecting habitat.
Yeah.
And
that stuff has a way of mobilizing people fast, for sure. So kudos.
Great. I love that. And also, Riley, I think you just earned more crush points from our audience. That's when they think you can't like Riley more.
Making me blush.
Kenneth says, huge fan of the show. My question stem from the history of Bigfoot encounters that experiencers report, but not always, which include the foul odor from the creature. I don't remember anyone commenting on foul odors. But did anyone in the field experience any Bigfoot funk when something seemed close or upwind? Also, did the team in the field use hunter's techniques to mask their scent?
Russell,
question about smells, guys.
Smell anything?
Let's get into these smells. You guys mentioned gamey smell a lot on the show, but no, what does gamey smell like, by the way? Because I wondered that a couple times.
It's a combination of sweat and just it's hard to explain. You ever drive by a deer that's been decomposing on the side of the highway? You match that with maybe excrement and really foul, week old sweat. There's a smell. There's definitely a smell. like if you get close to an elk in the woods, it has a very distinctive smell. It has its own smell. And if you walk an elk past me and a deer past me with a blindfold on, I'll tell you which one is which. They smelled that vastly different.
Writing that
So
down.
I don't doubt that ability in this slide.
You need to fill some time next season. You guys just have a smell test with.
Done.
with
Let's do it. Let's do it. A
Is
porcupine
that a
has
camel?
very distinctive odor.
That's part of the pre-show, Bryce, okay? That part of the pre-show.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. I never even thought about that though.
Well, a skunk. Let's just take a skunk for example. It doesn't have the spray. It has its own smell. And a cat that comes outside the house and sprays its territory, that cat piss smell, that it's a very, very distinctive odor. All these animals have their own funk. And there's been a few times we've smelled something in the woods that didn't line up to anything that I would be familiar with.
Mhm.
And it's foul. It's really, really foul.
And do you think that's an animal like giving off a scent somewhere nearby, or are you like walking past where like Bigfoot pissed? You know what I mean? Like what's causing the smell in that moment?
Well, my first instinct is to take a look over at Zach and just kind of question him first. Hey, man.
Smart.
No, I don't know if it would be a place where any animal had urinated. It's usually an airborne smell that comes through the air that urine doesn't smell that sweaty. It has its own, and we've run into it a couple times. It doesn't smell like the mountain lion or the bear or anything else. There's been a couple times we've smelled something that is its own distinct brand, so to speak. And that's when you get the hair standing up on your arms. That's when you get that gut feeling that something isn't right.
It does not smell like Drakkar.
It does not smell like the car. True story.
Every middle school 8th grade boy in 1993, Drakkar Noir.
Hey, we should come out with our own cologne.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Cologne. Not
Yeah.
bad.
Amy.
Squatch.
Yeah, Squat
For men.
That's perfect.
Squatch for men.
by EB.
For me.
Great. Okay, cool. Let's see. We got a few more questions. Huge fan of the show. Oh wait, got that one. Oh, here's a fun one. If it came down to it, does Russell think there would be a feasible strategy to defend oneself from a disagreeable Bigfoot other than just trying to escape? Do we stand a chance against one of these things?
Hand-to-hand combat.
Realistically, and if the testimonies that we hear are correct, body mass size, it would be like an infant trying to take down a pro wrestler. It would be really your best hope would be that it's a friendly interaction and you can actually acknowledge each other. I always joke about it. If I ever have a face-to-face encounter, I'm going to run up with my cell phone and do a selfie and grab a handful of chest hair and run like hell. And if that's how they find me in the woods, I'll have a DNA sample and a selfie. But as far as anybody, if anybody thinks that they can physically handle something like that, it's naive to think that way. I've had people think they could wrestle a bear or a mountain lion. I think they'd come out on top. That's really not realistic.
I was just thinking of that great movie with Anthony Hopkins, The Edge, written by David Mamet, where he takes down a bear. And I would, on the Bigfoot versus man account, I would just defer people to Max Brooks' Devolution, where there's some pretty good human Sasquatch combat taking place there. Good read.
Good
That's
book.
good
If you guys haven't checked it out, you should. It's good.
We can do a paper.
I got my money on Russell. Yeah.
I'll go in the ring with Bigfoot.
Christopher says, first of all, love the show. My 13-year-old and I have watched it every week, and we've really bonded over Bigfoot because of all of you. So thank you. That's hard to do. A 13-year-old, like that's the last person on earth who wants to talk to you.
It's true.
I'm curious if you all can talk about the end of the Washington leg up from last season. I felt like you were on the precipice of discovery. Are you chomping at the bit to get back out there, or do you feel like that window of opportunity has closed and you're going to move on to the locations you mentioned in the wrap-up episode.
I want to go back. I don't know what I'm pretty sure the rest of the team, I'm guessing the rest of the team feels the same way, but I want to go back. It feels like that you read the whole book and you don't have the last chapter. Somebody took it from you.
I mean, would it make sense to just start from that train bridge and the creek where you found the footprints? Does it make sense to, I mean, or do you have to start a whole new trail again?
No, I think we could start right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I agree.
The whole
it took a long time to get to that point where we had, honed in to an area where we were getting more and more activity, and then these tracks. So that would be the natural place to start and go from there.
And we finally found a way to get from that upper level down to the bottom. That it's not easy, but it's feasible. In the show, you can't really tell how difficult how steep that is. That upper bench getting down to the water, but it's treacherous. It really
Russell's
is.
going to do a low altitude parachute.
You just took the words right. I was like, all three of you, they should just drop you out of a plane, just land on that target right there. Kick off the new season.
We could fast rope out of the helicopter. We could just do a fast rope military style, just to have the helicopter hover over the water. We could just drop down.
Perfect. I'll do it head first.
Too easy. Did you do the spider?
Yes.
Oh, that would be awesome. I love that. I kind of hope that's what you got. I mean, I love the Pine Barrens idea. I'm interested in the place, Ronnie, you were mentioning, but like as a viewer, it would be so satisfying to see you guys pick right where you left off and start from there.
Well, maybe we will. You never know.
We're all hoping for a third season. We're all kind of praying for it. If we get, it's not up to us to decide, but I'm hoping that's if we happen to get a third season, we're all hopeful that's where we start.
Cool. Yeah. This is from Martin. Dr. Mayor once told Ronnie something like, "Hey, it's getting dark and we have 12 miles to hike to camp. How long does that take? And how much do you sleep a night while out in the field? Need to know this before I quit my job and become a Bigfoot hunter. Hoping for season 3.
You move pretty quick when darkness is falling, so you make that pretty quickly.
Yeah. And it really depends on the terrain. I mean, if you're having to climb steep stuff, it's going to take longer. If you're having to cross rivers, it's going to take longer. So it really depends on. I'm not sure at what point where we were when I said that, but generally, we do spend the majority of the day looking for different pieces of clues, right? And so then at night when we're out investigating, the truth is we're not getting very much sleep. By the time we get back to our tents, I feel like daylight comes very quickly, and then we're just doing it all over again.
You guys do a lot of research at night while you're on the move too. I mean, it's not like you sit and wait. You're using those nighttime hours too to use your thermals and move as well. So
true.
It makes sense.
Well, as Ronnie well knows, I mean, the time of high strangeness is 3 a.m. So I mean, those are peak hours right there, man.
Ronnie, do you have a little alarm set for high strangeness, or do you just wake up automatically because your body's so tuned?
Honestly, I'm up all night sometimes because I'm just like, I'm like, what is that? Like I don't want to miss that opportunity where it walks by my tent and I'm sleeping, So
party foul.
Half the noises Mireya hears is just Ronnie talking out loud, like, "What was that?
Yeah,
hey, wait a minute, Mireya, did you hear something?
Go to bed."
It's like a one-man slumber party over there. Okay, this is we have just a few more questions left. I know we're getting close to the end here. This is a question that I thought was a really good one. This is from Allison. There have been reports of Bigfoot seen in trees on occasion. Do you think it's a possibility they could just sometimes just quickly climb high in a tree to avoid being seen when you're getting too close. This could explain some of the instances where they tend to disappear without making a sound. My family and I are huge fans of the show and can't wait to see where you go next. We have no doubt you will capture one or more on film and show the world that Bigfoot is real. I thought that was an interesting question.
I do think we're always looking down, right? And we sometimes are going to have to start looking up, because I do think, I don't know if you've seen, there's a from one of Les Stroud's episodes, somebody had taken like a screenshot. It looks like there's a figure up in the trees, kind of like holding itself, and it looks like a Bigfoot, like a juvenile or something. And I've often wondered, you know, the larger trees that, you know, known as tree peekers, peeking behind and using that to kind of shield themselves, but they very well could be, you know, moving through that. It's something to start thinking about.
I mean, the truth is I look up a lot, but that's just habit.
Yeah, me too.
No, I mean, seriously, because that's all, you know, almost all of the stuff that I've studied have been arboreal. So for me, it's like, even if you're not intently looking up, I catch movement as, you know, up high. And that's just from being in the field studying like monkeys a lot or whatever. It's your eye goes to the movement. Like sometimes you don't even see the animal, but you see the movement. And so and gorillas are really large animals, and they climb up trees and they spend time up in trees as well. So it's not, it's I think what we do is, though, with trail cams, we do always have those, you know, pointing towards trails and ground and sort of thing. So it'd be kind of interesting maybe to start
Angling them up.
angling them up or something.
Yeah.
That we haven't done.
That's interesting.
I know we even, Zach and I will actually spend a lot of time. I'm looking at the ground a lot too, but we do check, always looking up, because a mountain lion isn't going to come and announce itself.
Right.
That was one of my big concerns in Oregon, because I kept smelling that cat,
Circling.
that house cat circling us, and that just makes my skin crawl thinking of one of those things from above jumping down on top of you.
You gotta sew some like eyeballs on the back of your hat, Russ, like they did in that show Alone, because they see.
All I need to do is outrun Zach. That's all I need to do.
Oh no, where's that? It's getting thrown under the big cat tonight. Jordan wanted to know about whether you'd want to go back to the same area. We answered that. Marissa asks, have any significant regional differences in Bigfoot behaviors been reported due to local climate, terrain, etc.? For example, based on Ronny and Mireya's suggestions about where to go next, is there anything you'd expect to see Bigfoot do or leave behind, say the Pine Barrens of New Jersey or the Texas-Louisiana border, that you probably wouldn't have seen in Washington? That's right. You suggested the Pine Barrens, Ronny. I was thinking that was Russell. I mixed that up. But so what's your take on that?
Well, I do think, like in certain areas like Ohio, they seem to be more aggressive than in other areas. And I do wonder, you know, regionally, what when people are gifting things like, you know, apples and things like that seem to be the standard, fish, things like that. But it'd be interesting to see what might be some kind of those nuances in some of these different regions on the best approach. And I think that's when you kind of tap into the independent researchers in the area, what they've been doing. And a lot of those guys aren't really sharing their data, their findings, and their witnesses. So it's kind of hard. But once I think we're starting to get more trust from people and researchers, that we can start collaborating and sharing those details that we can then implement when we go to these places.
Well put.
One last question, and Mireya, you may have already answered this, but MH wants to know, did anything else spooky happen in the field in Washington that didn't make it into the show? Any spooky stuff?
Ronny, did I share any other spooky stuff that happened in Washington?
I'm trying to think. I felt like it was every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, I'll tell you what, the that night when I got those uh, 3 or 4 heat signatures, right? Like the movement. Just before that, this weird black
Yeah.
Yes.
like just I don't know, walked, floated, I don't know, just came in front. And I could see it. I mean, I could see its outline really well defined.
That was
and
so weird.
We all
It's
saw it.
weird, very weird.
What was that?
And it was weird. And I'm like, and I asked my cameraman, because it was just me and him out there. Did you see that? Like, what was that? It was just, I mean, that was weird. I have no idea. So I'd say that was probably one of the, I mean, it did make the show. I'm trying to think. I don't think there was anything. I mean, there probably was, but there was just so much that I can't remember right now. But to me, that was one of the stranger things that happened in Washington, was that weird black thing that crossed my path.
That was my
There
favorite
was a lot
episode.
of strange stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of strange stuff in Washington that didn't make the cut. That we, do you guys remember the branches that were actually fused together and growing? That was just odd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa. No. What
That was
that?
Really strange.
that just didn't seem right. These branches had actually embedded themselves in each other and were fused together. That if you move one tree, the other one moved with it. It was just, there was just some strange locations, and like Ronnie would, high strangeness. There was just things that didn't add up, just weren't logical at all.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Wild. Great. I think that's all the questions. I'm just scanning to make sure I didn't miss one. If I did, I apologize. Oh, this quick one. If the experiences you've had, and I think this is a great place to end it. If the experiences you've had on the expedition are not a Sasquatch, what do you think is most likely to be behind your findings? And they got that term right.
Who wants
Wildlife is,
Nobody wants
let's just say the wildlife does some peculiar things. And if you hear something in the woods or a twig snaps, it could be, realistically, it could have been a bear. It could have been a mountain lion. Generally, deer or elk, you're going to see those because they're not as, I mean, you can get fairly close to them before they bust away. And but if it's a sound, the audibles, I couldn't tell you what the audibles were.
Hey.
Some of the stuff we got on audio was just
That
outlandish.
callback we got in Kentucky
Yeah,
was so intense, and it was like,
unnatural.
I was like, did we fool one? Like, because it seemed it was very close to us, and like it was like this hollow whistle and a scream at the same time, and I couldn't, again, that will always play back in my mind.
Haunting.
Like,
It was just
crazy.
haunting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I
you
don't
guys
know.
really
Go-
got so much great stuff. It's just wild. Sorry, go on, Russell.
Awesome team. I mean, we're like the little high strangeness magnet there, Ronny, and then I mean, the locations were definitely the right places to be at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I was going to ask, I'll ask, so I'm constantly thinking about a little bit, trying to think about outside the box, like what can we do next? How can we get closer? How can we change our tactics? And has anything come to your mind? I mean, I know I've written down net gun. What about you guys? Are you guys thinking? Are you guys thinking?
But Bryce,
anything
you weren't
cool?
thinking about Expedition Bigfoot when you wrote that. You just
I was
wrote down
gonna
net
say
gun
present
because you were thinking about how.
That'd be cool.
But no, I mean, I'm at like
I have
take that up.
something.
Yeah, what are
Yeah.
you thinking?
So there's a reason why I'm doing this, why I'm growing out my hair. And
Yeah.
the Native Americans, the reason they grew out their hair
I know, right? where
is
you're going.
they, just like almost like Avatar, they believed that it provided them extrasensory perception,
Yep.
that they had heightened sense of awareness, allowed them with hunting and all this, but there's this other metaphysical aspect of it. So it would be kind of neat if there was a way to measure that out in the field and almost use it as another detector for us when we're out there to see if, that could get picked up. And I've been talking to a couple different people that kind of have those capabilities and seeing if that's something that even makes sense to even try. But that's where my mind's kind of going with remote viewing and all these other elements.
I can see Ronnie next season like that scene in Predator when Arnold Schwarzenegger drops the guns and he takes off the thing and he's like, and he just goes native.
Goes berserk.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Ronnie, you're
Ronnie's
freaking me out right now.
Mireya, it sounds like you're gonna have a big man bun to deal with.
Next
not ask me to gel your hair, put it up in a braid. None of that stuff.
You just see the silhouette of him brushing his hair inside of his tent.
No.
I just want one slow-mo.
Gonna do a L'Oreal commercial.
Yeah.
How about you, Russ? Anything that you can think of that you might want to try? Anything? Any new technique? Any new strategy?
I do have an idea if we get the opportunity to do it, but I'm going to keep it to myself for right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's been suggested actually just recently, but I've heard it before, taking out a trank gun. And I'm going to tell you right now, and the same as I explained to the email that we got, a trank gun is not a good idea. Number one, how do you decide the dosage?
I can tell you that.
We don't know exact weight. We don't know. There's too many variables. And the problem is, what happens? Let's just say, for one crazy reason, what happens if you shoot something that you perceive as Bigfoot and it's not? It's some jackwagon in a costume.
Poor Bryce, man, he'll be knocked out for like a week.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a dangerous when you bring a firearm of any type into a situation like this with intent to use it on whatever it is you're seeking.
Yeah,
you had better be prepared, start to finish, and we're not prepared. I mean, that's out of the wheelhouse of what the network will allow.
Well, that's why net gun. It's totally safe.
No, you guys would try that on each other.
I'm guaranteed first hour with the net gun. It's like, go over there.
Run, Ronny, run.
How about you, Ray? Are you satisfied with our techniques and strategies? Is there anything you can think of?
Yeah, very, very much. But I'm going to have a side conversation argument with Russ about tranquilizer guns and animals. But that'll be off this. Yeah, but
game on, girl.
Am I satisfied with? No, absolutely. The tech that that we have out there. I mean, some of it being so cutting edge that it's not even been deployed, right, for military purposes. Like we get to test it out first.
So great.
I mean, that's like it's unheard of, right? And it's one of the things that drew me to this particular team, right? Is knowing that we were going to have access to some pretty remarkable tools that most people don't have access to, that I felt like would really give us an edge out there.
Yeah.
And I think it most certainly has. So,
well, I might have a few tricks up my sleeve for next season if we get one, and I've already been writing down a few cool new toys to.
I'll tell you right
he's
now.
just drew a picture of a Bigfoot robot. That's all it is. Just
it's a slingshot.
Yeah.
The most valuable tools, Bryce, that we have, honestly, are the team. Between the four of us, with our experience, with our perceptions, the way we track our methods and means, that to me, I think, as we work more together, if we get a chance to work more together in another season, I think we're fine-tuning our skills around each other and working with the strengths and weaknesses of each other. I think that's our most success is from that.
If you need like a couple extra people, like a very loud man and a very tall man that can maybe attract a Bigfoot, I know 2 volunteers that would be willing to join you.
Raise your hand. Right, there you go.
Mireya, what were you saying? Sorry.
No, I said I'd still like the cool toys, Bryce, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yo, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
cool toys are a must. All right, guys, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank
This
you.
was such a treat for me and for Riley, just as fans of the show. Riley, did you have any final question you wanted to ask? Because I feel like
I feel like
we've
we've covered it so well. I just want season 3 so badly.
We do too.
I wish.
I
fallen
think
in
it's a
love with this
no-brainer.
show. Yeah, it really is. It's like, why would you not keep this
Yeah.
going? You can't
Yeah.
just leave it where it was left on that riverbed. Like, this story is
Right.
not over. So
We'll let you know as soon as we do.
right on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Mireya, Ronny, Russell, thank you so much for being here. I know our Patreons, as Bryce calls them, are gonna love this. Thanks so
Awesome.
much. We
Thank you.
good work, congratulations, and again, can't wait for season 3.
Thank
Cool.
you. Nice to see you guys.
Thank you,
too.
guys.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Love you.
All right.
Yep.
Bye.
All right.